Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about a scenario that I've run into about 3 times in about the past 2 months. So we'll start off with one story, and then I'll talk to you guys about another business that had the same scenario, and then I'll talk to you about one that was the third scenario that I ran into that actually made the right choice. So as of lately, I have gotten multiple calls, in this case, 3 different businesses over the past 2 months, from businesses that they're interested in a new voice over IP phone system. They've got a large number of phones, or a larger than typical number of phones, somewhere within the range of, say, 20 extensions or users that need a physical phone or more. And the scenario that we run into is they look at the prices of the quotes from multiple carriers that we've looked at. We've looked at ones for Vonage Business, Nextiva, OnSIP, but the scenario was the same with these 3 businesses, where they were basically of the mindset of, the prices look good, it's going to save us a bunch of money on our monthly bill, but we don't want to make the switch because we've got this old phone system, that we paid like a bunch of money for, and even though we've had it for a long, long time, we want to get our money's worth out of the phones. So let's start with the first example, and I'm going to explain to you guys kind of what I ran into and why this thinking is just absolutely wrong. Not only from the cost savings standpoint, but also from the sheer standpoint of the fact that it's the 21st century, the technology has evolved. You're not doing yourself any favors by keeping some old archaic phone system that doesn't have the features and functions that you need just to get your quote-unquote investment out of what you may have spent, years or almost a decade ago. So in our first scenario, I had a Christian school that actually contacted me that had upwards of approximately 44 extensions. Really nice people. They were really great to work with for the short amount of time that we worked together. The scenario that we ran into was the particular provider that we looked at, which was OnSIP for this particular scenario, was literally going to save these guys somewhere around almost like 36 to 40% on what they were currently paying on their current monthly expenses for their current phone service provider. The problem was that they had spent, I want to say, upwards of almost $15,000 for their current old archaic phone system, which was Allworks, in the past. The lease was paid off. That wasn't the issue. They didn't still owe any money on it. It's just the pastor and some of the people in management were completely bent on this idea of, well, we got this thing about 7 years ago. We spent $15,000. We don't want to switch to a new phone system where we are going to basically, lose our investment, as they put it. The funny thing was I had one carrier that was willing to give them the phones for free, which was OnSIP in this case. And then OnSIP was able to save them somewhere in the realm of about 15 to 20%, and they were going to throw the phones in to kind of wash away their concern of, oh, we're not getting our money's worth investment on our previous phone system, because they weren't going to have to buy any new phones. With the other plan that OnSIP offered that we looked at that actually turned out to be the better choice for this customer, they were going to save almost 40% on what they were paying for their current monthly phone, expenses for the company, but they would have had to purchase their phones outright. But when we looked at the numbers, it looked like it was going to pay for itself within less than 3 to 4 months. Those phones would have paid for themselves with the savings, and then the client would be in the green for the remainder of the service, about 40% savings over what they currently had. Unfortunately, the client decided to go ahead and forfeit what we had been looking at for about a couple of weeks, because the powers that be in management wanted to quote-unquote get their money's worth out of the phone system. The saddest part about this whole thing is the simple fact that what we had proposed to them, and it wasn't even necessarily what we proposed to them, it was any voice over IP technology nowadays in the 21st century compared to any old traditional PBX or old hybrid voice over IP phone system is going to be better. The monthly cost is going to be cheaper, and the equipment and the features and capabilities of the equipment is going to be significantly better. Now let's move on to the next scenario. I had another contact that called me that was in the same boat. These folks were basically, what were they? It was a electrical company that basically was looking at approximately 20 phones. We were able to save them somewhere around 26 to 30% on their monthly phone bill, but it was a significantly better platform that we were looking at with these folks. But again, they decided, management said that we just, bought this phone system 4 years ago, and we want to keep it to get our money's worth. But the thing is they were literally paying more per month for what they currently had and still have for that, but also still using an old phone system which wasn't doing the job for what they needed. Hence the reason why they were calling me, because they needed a better phone system that would do a better job. So again, they weren't doing themselves any favors. Now to example 3, which were the wiser of the trio. We recently got a call from a collections agency that not only had a phone system that they were still under lease and still in contract on, but they were having major problems where it was failing and costing their business money, and because of downtime and obviously because of upsetting customers and clients, customers, and contacts and things like that. So once we showed them the same type of solution that we showed to all of the other examples that I mentioned earlier in this video, they looked at it. At first, we were thinking it was a thing where they were saying, oh, we may not be able to do this until June or July because that's when our contract is up with our current provider. But once we showed them, okay, we're going to get this provider to throw the phones in for you guys at no cost, so you have no upfront costs. That'll help abet some of the expenses or some of the potential termination fees or contract fees with your current provider. But we also came in at a price that was significantly lower, like almost 50% less than what they were currently paying for an older phone system that doesn't even have close to the features of what we proposed, which in this case was Vonage Business. Also, we got the provider, in this case Vonage Business, to throw the phones in at no extra cost, so they had no hardware cost up front, which also helps negate some of the termination costs. And it's a better system, more reliable, meaning no downtime, and even if it did go down, it has fail-safes in place so that they don't miss calls and they get all their voicemails. And just a better overall system. So if you're watching this video and you're somebody who is thinking, hey, I realize that my current phone system doesn't do everything that I would like it to do, but we're still in a lease, or, we just bought this thing 3 to 7 years ago and we want to get our money's worth, you are not doing yourself any favors by sticking with a phone system that has got old phones and has features or lacks features that all of the newer phone systems and hosted IP carriers have just, baked into their system at no extra cost. You're also not doing yourself any favors if you're paying more per month for a lesser solution just for the sake of peace of mind, or saying, oh, I got my money's worth out of that system that I overpaid 10 or 15 or 20 or $30,000 for eons ago. You're not doing yourself any favors. If you're watching this video and you're in that position, call me so I can look at the different options with you that are out there, and also let you see apples to apples where your system really stacks up with what is out there, so you can make a sound decision of what is best. Lastly, if you're watching this and you're on an older system like what I'm talking about, I can promise you that your older phones will not work correctly with the new hosted voice over IP providers. Now, I ran into some scenarios with the 3 examples I gave you in this video where we were told by the client, by the prospect, oh, this company said that my phones will work. Wrong. A lot of companies will say that your old traditional PBX or old hybrid voice over IP phones will work with some of the newer carriers that are pure SIP-based VoIP, like Vonage Business, Nextiva, OnSIP, RingCentral, the list goes on and on. What you've got to know, and I can show you guys emails on this, is they will only guarantee that you get dial tone, because they are not running off of a hybrid PBX. They will never, ever, ever in writing guarantee you that their service will work with all features and functions of the phones that you have. Yes, they might be able to get you dial tone, but that doesn't mean your caller ID will work. It doesn't mean that your voicemails will populate correctly or notify you correctly. It doesn't mean that call forwarding and transfer, basic features that everybody needs, will work. Regardless, that's the point of why I wanted to make this video. It's irrelevant. Every single person except the third person who decided to make the switch that I talked about in this video decided to stay with an older technology to keep their existing phones and get their investment. But what you've got to understand is nowadays, most of these carriers, they're not in the business of selling phones or hardware. They are in the business of selling their service. And if they have to give you the phones at little to no cost just to get you on their service and platform, they will do that, especially if you're going through me to help broker that scenario or that special pricing. So again, If you're watching this, give me a call. Let's look at your, scenario, and I'll see what I can't do and help you figure out which carriers will offer you the best prices and maybe help subsidize hardware. Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll talk to you guys again in the next video.